Real quickly, we're looking forward to the challenge that Ohio State brings to Spartan Stadium here this weekend. Obviously number 2 in the country, so very good football team, very well coached, know a lot of their coaches, and they have great concepts offensively and defensively, and do a great job. Very good athletes, very athletic football team. When you look at them across the board, you look at them offensively, you see first guy you see is the quarterback. I think he has 94 career touchdown throws or runs combined. I think he's 23 maybe touchdown passes this year to 4 interceptions. So very productive. Curtis Samuel's a guy that's got almost 1,400 yards, I believe, of offense between running and running the football and catching the football. So productive football team with a lot of athletes. Defensively on that side of the ball, same type of thing. They go deep into their roster, and they've got some outstanding football players. So without going through all those guys, but they run and tackle very effectively. We've got 28 players from Ohio on our football team, as well as quite a number of coaches with an Ohio background. So a little bit of extra motivation on this end. We've played them well the last couple of years, the last 4 years, 2-2 against them, and the other games have been exciting games as well. So looking forward to that challenge, and I'll just take some questions.
Malik McDowell is not on your depth chart this week. Any particular reason why? Is he hurt? Is he out?
Well, right now he's out, but we'll see. I'm not sure why he's not. I don't want to list him as a number 2, but I didn't think he's not a number 2. But I just didn't know how to list him based on last week. He was out, so that's why we listed him as such. So he's either will start for us or be unable to play. We'll see as the week goes.
Mark, Donnie Corley obviously has gotten some attention playing on both sides of the ball for a kid, at his age to be able to do that. I mean, how tough is that in terms of the amount of things you have to process and, with his level of experience? How impressive is it that he's been able to?
It speaks to the opportunities that are at corner. First of all, I think for young players here, we've got redshirt freshmen, we've got Donnie, we've moved over there, Justin Lane, we've moved over there, and he's starting. But we recruited Donnie with the idea that he could play both, and we want to make that happen. He's skilled enough to do that. Much like I talked about after the game, he's a big athletic guy with ball judgment. He can tackle in space. If he's playing 25 or 30 plays on offense or more, I think one game he played 55 as well, but he can play more. So our idea is to make sure that he is thoroughly exhausted at the end of a football game. That's the plan.
Mark, there have been guys who have done that both ways, but maybe not as true freshmen. Mm-hmm. After this game, would you have Corley talk to Chris Gamble? You know him obviously very well. Is there something that Donnie could get from that conversation?
Chris did that when he was a junior, and then he went out after 3. He did that a little bit as a sophomore and ended up playing, I think the most plays he ever played was, I think he played 116 plays. He played 6 games, I think, where he played over 100 plays. So it's doable. But whether we get to that extent or not, it'll depend on other people and other personnel in our recruiting and how players develop and those type of things. So, but he is a guy that obviously we could, I haven't talked to Chris for a while, but obviously we could do that if we chose to do that. But I think the most important thing is for him to be able to take what he's learned offensively and defensively and sort of digest that over the course of the offseason and look at himself and try to get better in both regards. He can be an outstanding offensive player as well, as you guys have seen.
Mark, I was struck by your comments Saturday and some of your players, how the locker room felt like you won a championship. How much did you need that feeling going into this stretch run? Not only that you won, but the way you won, getting back to Spartan football.
Well, I think we needed that. I think we needed to play well on all ends of the spectrum, which we were able to do that, and that was something that we needed to happen. So, we're sort of out there in the desert a little bit, so doesn't mean that we're back, but I think it meant a lot to our football team and our players in terms of how we played and how we played with each other and the energy that existed on the football field. So I don't know, it just sort of hit me a little bit, and I think it hit the players as well. So we're just having fun together.
Mark, you mentioned the 2-2 record against Ohio State. They've only lost one other Big Ten team since Urban got there. Anything you point to specifically why you've been able to have a little more success against them while other good teams haven't?
Players made plays. That's players made plays in the game. I thought in both respects, the 13 game and the 15 game, our guys came ready to play. They were focused. The other team was focused. Buckeyes were focused too. But I thought that we just played well. We made plays on the field, big plays in the game. And, last year, Burbage making a big catch a couple times and, big runs, defensively playing very well. They're a tough team, very tough, difficult team to prepare for, offensively and defensively. They bring a lot to the table. But if you're playing well, if you're going to win this conference, you've got to play well against the good teams in this conference. And traditionally, they've been very, very good. Obviously, that's not the case this year, but you need to measure up. You're always trying to measure up.
Brandon Clemens is a guy who's played both sides of the ball, offense and defensive line. How valuable has he been for this team, and where do you think the team would be without his ability to do that?
Well, he's a sixth-year senior, and he's filled the gaps in a lot of different places. He's played on defense for us at times. He may do that again this week with Tyler Higbee's injury. He'll start at right guard. He played right guard last year against the Buckeyes as well, and so he's played in games. I mean, he's been a guy that's played in a lot of football games for us. And he's had a starting, he started in games for us offensively and defensively. So you take a guy like that, he's been extremely valuable and really has been totally unselfish in the way he's gone about his business.
Mark, going off the 2-2 record against Ohio State recently, you guys came into that 13 game and that 15 game as underdogs to the Buckeyes. So despite the circumstances of this year, does it feel kind of similar going in, knowing that you've beaten this team before and you can do it again?
I just think that we've got to play well in all areas. I don't ever go into a football game saying, excuse me, that we're an underdog. I don't ever say we're an underdog to our football team. I've never gone into a game and say, well, we're X amount of points underdogs. We've always gone into a game planning to win, and we need to understand these are the things we need to do to win a football game. And you're going to play in this conference. You're usually going to compete at the highest level, pretty much week in and week out. Could almost be expected to do so. A lot of good football teams, a lot of very well-coached football teams in this conference.
Mark, when you win a championship at a school as you did at Ohio State, do you always have kind of an affection? I know your tie was Tressel, and you want to beat their brains in this week, but is there always an affection because of what you went through there?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. There always will be. That's a part of, when I got into coaching and I was a graduate assistant, ultimately, I was a graduate assistant for Earl Bruce at Ohio State for 2 years. So there's the relationships with those people at that point in time in my life, which was in my 20s, late 20s, mid to late 20s. And then there's the relationship when I went there as the defensive coordinator with those coaches and those people at that time and all the players then. So know a lot of people down there. I'm from that state. I guess I don't know what's the word I want to use here, but the respect that I have for that program and the players who've played in it is here. And it is in a lot of places, certainly here with our players and everything as well, but I have a deep respect for Ohio State and what they've been able to accomplish, traditionally, long term.
Mark, you said you go into this game and any game expecting to win, and you're never going to change that way. But because kind of flip, whereas last year you were in the situation at Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan were in, do players actually or coaches take the added motivation that, we can have an effect on some other teams?
Yeah, I think they naturally do. I think that's pretty natural that you want to be playing for something. And so you've got a little bit of added significance there. But I think more importantly is just how you're going to measure up. Right now they're the number 2 team in the country. This is what's gone on in the past. This is where we are right now. We've led in every football game. Every football game I think has been pretty competitive. We are what we are, but this is a way to move forward, as a program. So You just got to get yourself ready to play at the highest level.
Mark, with the early game last week, did you have a chance to watch Pittsburgh and Clemson and the two night games? And something as crazy as that happens in one day, does that remind your guys, hey, that play the game on paper?
Yeah, I did sort of, I sort of watched, I got there, I guess, about halftime in the Clemson Pitt game, and so I watched that, and obviously, wanted Pat to win and wanted to see that happen, and then I just sort of watched the Iowa-Michigan game. It's sort of nice just sort of sit there and not worry about things, but yeah, exciting football games, and there's a lot of competition in this league, and games are played on the field, they're not played on paper. Continually say that, and what you'll win with is great fundamentals. Ultimately, it's great fundamentals and how you play out structurally in a game relative to the formations you present, and offense, defense, and special teams, and the formations they present. I think that's coaching. But you got to play fundamentally sound as well.
Mark, if you don't have Malik, you got 3 freshmen and a sophomore listed as your starting defensive line. Anything you can tell them just about the challenge of going up against that Ohio State front, something you probably haven't seen?
Well, you got to learn fast. Those guys are getting to a point in their season where they're not young freshmen, at least anymore. They're a little bit more experienced, and I think they grow each week. And they've got athletic ability. It's just, I was talking with Shalik Calhoun yesterday, as a matter of fact. He was in for Saturday's game and stayed around through yesterday. And I was talking to him a little bit about playing as a true freshman, which he did not have to do. So there's a big learning curve there, but that learning curve, I think it's faster. I think you're going to learn more when you're playing than you're learning on the scout field. So there is a faster learning curve, but you got to grow up fast. So we'll see. Kevin Williams is there. He's an experienced player as well, and we've got some other guys. So we'll see, but we need to measure up. This is a part of it.
I got 2, one at a time.
Okay.
Did you happen to talk to Pat Saturday night or Sunday?
I talked with him through text, just like anybody would in social media these days.
Yeah. He was pretty excited, right?
Yeah, very excited, very excited. I had talked with him the week before as well, so I think it was the week before.
I'm stuck on the Ohio State thing, but have you ever met Woody Hayes? I don't think you have.
Yeah, I have.
You have? Tell me about it.
Yeah, a couple
please.
times, 3 times.
What was it like?
Pretty crazy, really. I mean, one time he started talking to me about Zanesville, how, they made pottery back in Zanesville back in this day and age, and because he's a history guy. But I distinctly remember we won the championship in '84, and, they rushed the field and all that kind of stuff. So I was one of the last ones walking back up into the locker room, and everybody was gone pretty much. And it was just Coach Hayes sitting there on a bench. And so I walked in and just sort of, how you doing? Sort of just him and me. And I think I had a program in my hand, so, just being a GA, I said, hey, do you mind signing this? And so I think I still have that program. So.
You got his autograph?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he was quite the guy. And, Coach Bruce was there at the time, so Earl would always tell Woody stories, and, because he had coached for him. And so it was pretty, he was one of those guys, one of those football guys that everybody in football, I think, will know who Woody Hayes is.
Senior day on Saturday for your seniors, obviously not the way they wanted their senior year to go, but how have they handled this season and everything they've been through, and just, I guess reflect on their careers in general a little bit too?
Yeah, they've done a great job, First of all of those guys, the guys who've been with us, they all have 2 Big Ten championship rings. They all have a Cotton Bowl ring. They've all been to, if you look to see which games they've been to, which bowl games, they've been to an Outback Bowl. They've been to a Rose Bowl, I guess Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, then a Rose Bowl, then 2 Cotton Bowls, 1 playoff. So they've had distinguished careers. If they were redshirted, they went to the Outback Bowl. But they've accomplished a lot. I think that's the thing they need to remember about this whole journey here. Then when you get to this year, high expectations. A lot of things, enter into where we're at, so we don't need to go into that, but obviously didn't end the way they wanted to end. But their attitude and their passion for the game and their commitment really has allowed us to move forward every single game. Every single practice, whether you've practiced in last year, getting ready to be 10-1 really. After this week, we were 10-1 last year, or this week. The practices really, if you walk out on the practice field, they're no different. The mentality, the effort, the intangible things, there's no difference. And that's senior leadership, and that's just senior interaction with our young players. So they've done a great job. I know it's been a disappointing year. I know it's in a lot of ways. You can look back and say we should have won this game, that game, this game, that game. But we just sort of are where we're at. So we have to deal with that, and hopefully this period of time in their life helps strengthen them for later disappointments in their life where they have challenges in life. They have to be able to go through them and come out the back end.
Mark, two questions, not a two-part question, two questions. In light of everything this team's been through, if this senior class could shock the world and have that be their last home memory, what do you think that would mean, and what would it say about that group?
Well, I was on another football team in 1998, didn't go to a bowl game here. And we went down and played a number one team in Ohio, at Ohio Stadium, at Ohio State, and won. And didn't go to a bowl game that year. Everybody seems to remember it. So, I guess that's something. But I think the biggest thing is playing the next game and always getting ready for your next challenge. And that's this one, and it's a big, big challenge that we have standing in front of us.
What would you say if one of your GAs came up to you and asked for an autograph?
I'd laugh. So get out of here. So, guys good? Thank you.